Like, we invented the fridge. Australians invented the fridge, would you
Right.
believe? Australians invented the Hills hoist, the laundry, when you hang up your washing. But they invented that, right? Okay. So we invented so many things. Like, we invented the fridge, for God's sake. It's basically be all totally automated. And so that's the trick in any sort of business to make a lot of money. So I've been to America quite a few times, and there's not a lot of cultural differences there, right? There's only about 4 or 5 kind of major kind of cultural, like Mexicans and Latinos, all that sort of ones. So there's not a big diversity, whereas Australia's a massive diversity. And so we speak Chinese, we speak Korean, we speak all those languages, Japanese and whatever. So we can actually deal with them. And so I reckon, I wouldn't be surprised, there's plenty of data, centres in Australia that deal with, like, call centres and stuff that deal in Australia into China for America, I bet you. I think Australia's really positioned to do that. And why not deal with Asia? Because that's the biggest market. It's like smartphones over there. My understanding is Android's the biggest seller in Asia. In fact, iPhones aren't sold as much as Androids anyway. But the reality is because it's cheaper. They can't afford iPhones. The reality is that market's still growing up. They're still getting more and more money in as they grow. So what we want to deal with that market, it's got billions of people coming through. It's very funny, in Australia, the whole tall poppy syndrome still exists.
Okay.
And so what happens is you get too successful in business, they want to pull you down. And in America, it doesn't really happen that way. Like, it's almost like like I've been to California and stuff, it's completely different. They kind of support it. I think it's part of the problem in Australia is that they never really support small business, yet we're the biggest producer of revenue for them. And I think the reason is because we're run by a bunch of lawyers, right? So virtually no one in Parliament's ever been in business. So they don't understand, they don't get small business, they don't even understand them. So, we had a Prime Minister for a while that was in big business, but the reality is they've never been in small business, most of them, so they don't even understand what a small business even looks like. They've been lawyers and university and all that sort of stuff, they've never actually had to do it. And so I think that, supporting that small business is massive. You can, look at Atlassian, they're $1 billion company, they employ a lot of Australians, but I bet you they got virtually no breaks from the government along the way. But if they actually help them to grow in that scenario and, getting the subject of employee tax or payroll tax in New South Wales is nuts, right? Once you have $1 million payroll, you get taxed for that. So if you think a government's trying to help you and they actually tax you because you have too many employees, then what's that all about? So, yeah, I think it has to change. And the other big is contracting law, right? So in Australia, if you have a contractor that works too many hours for you, suddenly they're an employee according to the government. Well, they're not, but they are as far as they're concerned. So now you've got to pay superannuation, now you've got to pay work cover, now you've got to do all these things, or fire them. And get someone else and don't work as long hours for them or something. That's just dumb, right? Because they haven't caught up. They haven't thought about the fact that contracting's a big thing now, but the tax law is still way behind on it. So, yeah, I think the government, the biggest problem is technology moves so fast. Like, the social media guys got away from them, didn't even notice. All those things are moving so fast, they can't keep up. And I think the world's information is now doubling every hour. So the sum of everything we know is doubling every hour. It used to take 100 years. 50 years ago, it took nearly 100 years for the world's data to double. So they can't keep up with nobody can. Maternity leave's a hard one. Like, I know that they pay a lot more now from the paternity because the biggest problem in Australia is they're not having enough kids. So the reality is that you're going to actually go backwards at some point, which with 7 billion people on the planet can't be that bad thing, though, really think about it. But, do you know what I mean? But so maternity's hard. That's a hard one. I don't know. Like, the reality is that generally speaking, in the traditional sense, most women get married, husband keeps working, wife can go stay home and have a baby. That's the old way of doing it, but that doesn't really work that way anymore. That's a hard one. I don't know how you'd really have. It's almost like you have to get beyond the point of where money. It's almost like you'd have to move to a communist kind of culture. You know what I mean? So that basically money doesn't mean anything in terms of that, rather than having to worry about paying for stuff. Well, one of the things about automation or the cloud is that someone who's on maternity leave can almost work up until, a month out, or even they can come back to work much faster. They don't have to travel. They can still look after the kid at home. They don't have to go out. To me, that's a huge thing. But with automation, because my understanding with maternity leave, like if has a similar situation, if the job's not there for them when they come back, and it quite potentially happen in businesses now where jobs just disappear. They could not be able to come back to work after they have maternity. So, yeah, that's another crazy thing that people haven't thought out properly, right? You've got to have kids, because without kids you can't have a future, but they don't work on how you're going to deal with that properly. What I decided to do about 2 years ago-ish is double my price and halve my customers.
Okay.
Because I got sick of working too long, too many hours, right? So we decided to do that. So that's one theory of working less equals more, right? And so we were smart about who we dealt with, charging more money, provided more value, and guys a bit more time. So I've got a couple of core customers to do business for. We do book publishing, but the future of having a platform and that reoccurring income, which is the thing we talk about, I think I talk about in that booklet as well, in that one, is that most people don't think about reoccurring income, right? So you look at the likes of Uber, they've got a huge reoccurring income base, right? Because once you've booked them once, you're going to book again because you're on the app, right? And so the same with us. If we have a platform owner that owns this platform, they're going to have to pay it, because if they don't, then obviously their e-commerce goes down, their podcast goes down, the whole show stops, right? It's like electricity for their business. But we don't have to actually have done much of that. So we just host that server and run the software and update it. So that's easy money in comparison to actually work for it. So that's a scalable business. We could have thousands. Well, to me, it could be $100 million business, and it wouldn't take much to scale it. You know who you want, go find them. So we go and find them on LinkedIn normally and message them and start a conversation. And that's the thing, is start a conversation with the people that are interested, and plus referrals. So I don't think I've spent any money on Facebook advertising to do anything on Facebook, any sort of marketing cost lately in the last 3 years, virtually.
Okay, so it's just pure LinkedIn.
Pure LinkedIn
messaging.
Or people finding you, being referred to you, that kind of thing. And the danger with referral business is you can't control it. So people think, oh, great, I get a lot of referral business. Well, that's good, but that's bad too. Because someone stops referring you, and we have lumps of that, where I might get referred 5 times and have 5 new authors 1 month, and then 4 months nothing. And then get referred again, right? So you can't control it, you can't manage it. So my LinkedIn is one of the major ways we do it, but we're also having conversations with people. And I think that's the trick with it, is rather than just say, oh, we'll just rely on referral business, that dries up, you're doomed. So yeah, a lot of people say, I get a lot of referral business. I think, well, okay, that means you can't market. Like Graham's a good example. He went public speaking, he's been on stage, he's doing a lot of stage stuff, he does webinars. He was scared to do any of that initially, but he grew up to the point where he could actually do it. That's generating business while he's talking and doing presentations. That's a marketing strategy. He's a professional enterer of awards. And it's like he wins them all the time. He ran Broker of the Year or something just recently and stuff like that. Because he enters a lot of awards, right? Because not many people enter awards. He basically does that, and he gets a lot of business out of it because people trust him because he's won an award. We're in Cairns, got the guys from Sydney come down, launch the software, big launch. So we started doing flyer drops, and we managed to get on Channel 7 TV, and they said, we'll run some ads, and so they put the wrong phone number on it to start with, and all these things went wrong. But what happened was we asked people to book tickets, but they weren't paying for it initially, and then we started selling them. So we knew who was coming for selling them, but we stupidly put the address of where we were running the event. So we thought about 100 people were coming. In fact, I don't know how many came, but it was more than 100. There was 200-300 people showed up unannounced, essentially. They just thought it was on there and we'll come.
Did they buy tickets? Or?
No.
Okay.
So basically, we thought, okay, more the merrier, right? Lucky we hired the ballroom. So we filled this ballroom, started putting chairs in and stuff. And then I had to get in front of 350 people, which I was ugh, oh God. So you see 350 faces, it's like, wow, that's a lot of people. So yeah, that was the end of me. I cured myself with public speaking after that.
Okay, so ever since
Don't scare me anymore. I was like, I face off 350 sets of eyes where you can do anything. Is when you create a business for 1 or 2 reasons. To sell it, in theory. Most people's businesses aren't sellable, so they just shut them down. Or create a legacy, right? And so I thought to myself, well, if I was going to create a legacy, because now you start realising how long you're going to be on the planet and when's that day, no one knows, right? So what happens is if you create a legacy business, you've got a business that's going to be passed on. So then you ask yourself some questions. Like one is, can you scale a publishing business to be a legacy business? Very difficult, right? Too many moving parts, too hard to teach, right? Scale a software business, there's less need requirements. Like you don't believe that Facebook's business is very simple. It's run by 2 people. That's it. They have no management structure whatsoever. Everybody just basically goes to the two people, Mark and the other girl, right? That's it. So software's such a much simpler business. So that's why I sort of thought, well, if James wants to have a go at something like that, I can teach him how to run a business, but don't run a complicated business, right? Run a business that's actually scalable and you can actually build, and then he can figure out what he wants to do in that business. I think the biggest problem in the school system is that they teach you to be worker bees, all right? So that's industrialism, right? That's basically what it used to be. Like you go to school, you learn how to be a good employee. That's really what they're trying to churn you out as. Follow rules, you know what I mean? And the biggest problem with that is that a business person, that's what business, like I finished school when I was 15. Grade 10 out of there as fast as I could. The day I was out, gone, never seen it, see again, right? Because the reality was it was just a waste of time to me. So at the end of the day, if I can instill a concept of, if you're a business person, you can make money. Like I've considered getting back and getting a job like so many times over the last 30 years, but I keep thinking to myself, I can earn more in a day than I can earn in a month in a job. Just apply yourself.
I don't know. Well, it's interesting.
Elaborate, James.
Not a public speaker, but
You better learn. You did more training in acting than I ever did.
All right.
He did some acting training in Brookvale for a while there, yeah, just for confidence purposes.
Okay. Does it help, do you think?
no, not really. You got a script.
Okay. All right. There's no scripts right now.
No, it's make up stuff. That's a hard question, man. Like, should have warmed me up for that one. I guess the situation is that we created something, and he got involved in it at the point when it was early. So hopefully he's bought into it, rather than so here you go, right? So part of the legacy business concept wasn't just to go here's a business, because I've seen it so many times where you give something like a son and he never does anything with it, just business fails.
Yeah, second
right?
generation.
Second generation, it's got, they're not as, fire in the belly. So I'm hoping the scenario is that he's growing with it. Seeing it built for, it's much like building a house for him to live in, right? That it actually likes the house when he gets there. So that one's about to convince you that everything you actually know is about marketing is wrong, essentially, right? But it sounds silly, but to show people that that's actually what their preconceptions are wrong, and that there's a better, smarter way to do it. Strange enough, it took me 2 weeks to write that book.
Right, that's quick.
Yeah, because everything I had was already there. So it was a case of like pushing it together and saying, well, okay, that all makes sense. So that was basically making people understand that there's stages to steps to things, and if you miss a step, then that's where things go wrong.
Last book.
Put that in there.
Two hands.
And James had a lot to do with this book, actually.
Okay, did you know that?
He did we started with the cover design, because that's the thing when we write a book. The first thing we do is title and book cover. We don't actually write the book until we've done the full cover and know the finalised cover. So none of these books were written until the cover was done.
Right.
And come with the title. Then we write a table of contents and figure out what's going to be in it. Then we write the last page. And then we write the book. So that's how that was done. And then basically we put in the whole process on how to write a book and how to market that book, but more so about how to figure out what you should write about.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging with us on the Convo couch, and thank you to John and James for joining us today.
Thank you, it was great fun.
Yeah,
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe on the links below, and we'll see you next time.
I'd really love you to actually subscribe to the Evolvepreneur podcast. We actually talk to lots of different interesting people, and the main reason I talk to them is because I want to learn something. So we don't actually go in there to promote anything, we actually go in to learn something. So that's the whole focus on it. So everybody we talk to gives out advice, and we try and go deep and try and get the best ideas out of them. So yeah, so it's on Apple, iTunes, and all the other podcast platforms as well. Or you can go to Evolvepreneur.club and get there too. Thank you. Excellent.
Great. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this episode in a series where we interview business leaders, tech innovators, and startup founders about their business journey, insights, and reflections. If you find value in this, please leave us a comment below, and also like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Enjoy!